Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 1, I Was an Outcast Liege. Chapter 36, Scent. Shen Zequan suddenly imitated Xiao Qiye's action from the last time and splashed water droplets onto his face, then he seized the chance to grab the clothes from his hand. Unable to open his eyes from the spray of water, Xiao Qiye reached out an arm to pull off a dry towel and use it to cover Shen Zequan's head and rubbed it randomly. Shen Zequan was still putting on his clothes and Xiao Qiye's rubbing sent half of his body swaying. Seething with hate, he used his bare leg to kick out the chair the Xiao Qiye was sitting at. With the chair under Xiao Qiye's butt pushed back from the kick, Xiao Qiye immediately stretched out his legs, clamped them around Shen Zequan tightly, and forcibly dragged Shen Zequan towards himself. Then he continued to rub Shen Zequan's head as if he was wiping down an unruly puppy. In that case, I'll do as I please. Xiao Qiye snapped. As you, son of. Second, the towel rubs caused Shen Zequan's voice to break up intermittently. Xiao Qiye pulled off the towel. Without saying another word, he pinched Shen Zequan's chin with one hand while his other hand slid down along Shen Zequan's nape, down to his waist and hips. Son of a bitch, Xiao Qiye said, did you call me a son of a bitch? Shen Zequan's waist belt was not properly secured and the robes he was wearing was Xiao Qiye's old clothes. Thus, it hung loosely on his body, exposing his collarbones. The water droplets on his body wetted Xiao Qiye's fingertips as the latter moved his hand down, blending into one with that satiny touch. I didn't say that. Shen Zequan backhandedly pressed down on Xiao Qiye's hand to hold it in place. As they say, one should reflect daily on three aspects. Second, young master, you should really do some reflection. You don't understand. Xiao Qiye's nimble fingers turned over to grasp Shen Zequan's hand instead. The first word I knew of was son of a bitch. I've long told you that your second young master is a jerk. There's absolutely no need for me to reflect. And isn't this waist of yours too slender? It's you who have touched too little. Shen Zequan said callously. That's right. Xiao Qiye pretended not to understand and wandered into another direction. I naturally haven't touched your waist that many times. Shen Zequan had no wish to put on a show with him any longer. He tightened his waist belt with one hand and said, since you have touched me back, then this matter is closed. Xiao Qiye released his legs that were wrapped around Shen Zequan, and Shen Zequan fastened his waist belt. Even his face had turned red from the rubs that Xiao Qiye was giving him with the towel. Feeling hot, Xiao Qiye rose to pick up the Eastern Pearl on the ground and happened to see Shen Zequan's bare legs again. It dazed him for a moment, then he swiftly straightened up and took 2 steps back before pressing in another 2 steps. Then he said, sleep. Shen Zequan poured a bowl of hot ginger soup. After rinsing his mouth, he sneezed again. Xiao Qiye found the way he looked when he sneezed amusing, just like a cat. He soaked the towel with cold water and wiped his face. Don't go that way. Xiao Qiye undressed and pointed to his bed. You sleep in my bed. Shen Zequan wiped his mouth and said, then I won't stand on ceremony. He dispensed with the formalities and sat on Xiao Qiye's bed. Xiao Qiye shifted the tables and chairs away, and then dragged the sumi couch in the room to the vacated spot about the distance of a single step away from Shen Zequan. He rolled over to lie down, then pillowed his head on both arms and said, Lanzhou, extinguish the lamp. Shen Zequan blew the lamp out and lifted his blanket to lie down with his back towards Xiao Qiye. It was still snowing outside, but the inside of the room was warm and quiet. Xiao Qiye shut his eyes, looking as if he was sleeping. The sensation of touching Shen Zequan lingered on his fingertips, and it was becoming more and more vivid at this time in the darkness. Xiao Qiye opened his eyes to stare at the roof and began to think about the skies in Liege. It's only when one is without desires that one could become a sage. When his Shifu taught him to hold the bow, it happened to be the season when the pastures of Liege were luxuriant. He had sat on the fence at the edge of the horse ranch and looked up at the azure blue sky with his head propped up with his hands. Zhou Qianqiu had asked, "What are you thinking?" Hanging around Xiao Qiye's neck was the bone thumb ring. He swung his calves and said, "I want an eagle. Shifu, I want to fly." Zhou Qianqiu sat on one side and looked at him. He patted the back of his head and said, "You are also a lad burning with desires. But in this world, it's only when one is without desires that one can become a sage. There are many matters that will end up being your cage once you harbor the desire for it." Restless, Xiao Qiye grasped hold of the railing with both hands and swiftly hung upside down from it, his little robe covering his face in turfs of grass and dust. He said, "It's only human nature to want. Wanting is the prelude to joy and misery." Zhou Qianqiu carried his own great bow in his arms and wiped it carefully. "If you acknowledge that you are but a mortal with desires, then you will be swayed by considerations of gains and losses. If you want it, you must get it. You will be a little wolf with such a character. But yeah, there will be many things in the future that you will want but will never get. What should you do then?" Xiao Qiye landed on the grass. He grabbed at the hem of his robe and caught hold of a big locust. He pinched the struggling locust and said half-heartedly, "Father said, where there is a will, there is a way, there is nothing that can't be obtained." Zhou Qianqiu sighed, thinking he was still too young after all. So, he helplessly pointed to the sky and said, "All right. You want to fly, but can you really fly?" Xiao Qiye released the locust and raised his head to look at Zhou Qianqiu. He said in all seriousness, "I can learn how to tame eagles. Once I tamed one, then its wings will belong to me. The sky it flies past will be the sky I fly past. Shifu, a man needs to be adaptable." Zhou Qianqiu looked at him for a long time before he said, "You are stronger than me. I'm a fool who can't adapt to circumstances." Imitating an eagle, Xiao Qiye spread his arms open and ran a few steps on the grass in the wind. He said, "I want to tame a horse, too. Eagles and horses are both strong-willed creatures." Zhou Qianqiu followed after him and said, "Looks like our Aya likes people who are recalcitrant and hard to tame." Taming. Xiao Qiye said, "That's the kind of process I like." Xiao Qiye thought. It was not that he liked such a process. He enjoyed it. He was fascinated by it. It was just like training an eagle. He would not let the eagle sleep for 7 days, and not feed it for 4. He would hang it until the feathers on the top of its head became all puffed up and torture it until its eyes were comparable to that of sesame seeds. Only when it obeyed his orders that he could take it out for hunting. And now, sexual desire was his newly acquired eagle. Xiao Qiye tilted his head slightly and looked at Shen Zequin's back. That slanted clothes revealed Shen Zequin's nape. In the darkness, it was like a piece of unpolished jade that felt wonderful to the touch. Xiao Qiye was hard again. He did not move, nor did he look away. He did not believe that this kind of shallow lust could dominate him. He did not believe that he would succumb to this kind of base instinct. Before dawn the next day, both men sat up in unison as if they finally have had enough of it. The guard who had been sprawling on the roof all night huffed out a breath of hot air and watched as the maidservants entered the room in a single file. He said, "Nothing happened last night." The one drinking wine said, "He didn't succeed." The one holding the brush asked suspiciously, "And you know that how?" The one drinking wine shifted his body and watched as Shen Zequin stepped out of the door. He said, "Look at him. He's moving normally today. Other than the black circles under his eyes, he clearly looked rested." Both men systematically turned their heads as their eyes followed Shen Zequin. Then they looked back at Xiao Qiye, who had just stepped out. The one holding the brush said, "Second young master doesn't look too happy." The one drinking wine said, "He's sex deprived." Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Chen Yang draped a coat around Xiao Qiye. Seeing his grave expression, he said, "Viceroy, did he screw something up?" Xiao Qiye replied, "You could say so." Alarmed, Chen Yang said, "Last night, he's pretty proficient in feigning sleep." Xiao Qiye secured the Longli blade and braved the snow to descend the stairs. "Let's go to the military drill grounds at Mount Feng." Chen Yang chased up to him and said, "There's no one on duty today. And it's snowing." "Viceroy." Xiao Qiye flipped atop the horse and lowered his voice, "I'm going to see the new equipment that has just arrived. Tell Gu Jin and Ding Tao to keep an eye on him." Chen Yang nodded. Xiao Qiye raised his head and shouted to the two men on the roof, "If you lose him again, both of you can get lost, too." The two heads that had popped out from the rooftop gave a uniform nod and shrank back again. Ding Tao put the brush and book properly back in his bosom and said, "This is just great. We have turned from second young master's guards into his guards." Gu Jin shook what was left of his wine and said, "I feel that he can fight 8 men on his own. We'll just keep an eye on him. Just keep an eye on him." Ding Tao readied himself, then placed both hands mannerly on his knees. After sitting for a while, he said, "But, where is he?" Both men looked at each other, then rose at the same time and said, "Damn." Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Eating his steamed bun, Shenzhequan opened the back door to the Temple of Penitence. Ji Gang was shadowboxing in the courtyard. When he saw him coming, he wiped his sweat with a towel and asked, "Why are you here today?" Shenzhequan replied, "I'll be busy in a few days. It's convenient today." Grand Tutor Qi was sleeping among a stack of papers. His snores boomed like thunder, so Shenzhequan and Ji Gang did not enter the house but sat under the eaves to chat. Wiping his face, Ji Gang asked, "You didn't use your martial arts lately, did you?" Shenzhequan lifted his sleeve up to reveal the bruises, courtesy of the sparring with Xiao Qiye the day before. He said, "I fought once with second young master Xiao." Ji Gang was stunned, then he flew into a rage. "He actually dared to hit you. My guess is that he wants to see my internal martial arts." Shenzhequan put down his sleeve and said, "Shifu, he's truly blessed by heaven. His physique is a notch better than the Prince of Liege. I countered his blows with the Ji clan's boxing style, but it was just like an ant trying to shake a tree. I couldn't move him at all." Back then, Zhou Kai left the capital to head to Suotian Pass, where he met Suotian Pass's Feng Yishan. Ji Gang said, Feng Yishan took in Zhou Kai as his adopted son and imparted the Feng clan's art of broadsword to him. By the time it was imparted down to the second young master Xiao, it has probably already become a skill that incorporates a blend of martial arts from various schools, thus differing from us. But the Ji clan's style naturally has the Ji clan's strengths. If you can truly have a match with him on broadsword techniques alone, then you will be able to compare the differences. The Longli blade was forged by a famous craftsman on Commander-in-Chief Qi's payroll. It slices through metal like cutting through mud. Common blades are useless when facing up against it. Shenzhequan said thoughtfully. The blades forged by the Qi clan's craftsmen are all general's broadsword, specially designed for combat on the battlefield. Look at the second young master Xiao's Longli blade. If it can make an appearance on the battlefield, it would be able to split human bones with one straight slash. It was entirely made to fit the arm strength of that lad. As Ji Gang spoke, he stamped the snow off his shoes. As for us, we might not necessarily get used to wielding it even if we have the chance to. But you don't have to worry about your sword. Shifu has already found one for you. My sword. Shenzhequan was slightly taken aback. The Jinyi Wei is a good place. Ji Gang smiled at him. The amount of time you've been there is still short, but you will slowly come to understand in the future that it's a place full of hidden talents in Great Zhou. Qizuyan may have a famous craftsman, but we have no lack of them in the Jinyi Wei either. I keep thinking of that sword of Jilei. Once Shifu brings you that blade and hands it to an old friend to reforge, it will be no less inferior to second young master Xiao's Longli blade. Isn't Jilei's sword a Xiaochun blade? Xiaochun blade is the blade he generally carries along with him, but he also has my father's blade hidden in his collection. Ji Gang said with a snort. Why isn't he dead yet? Once the Court of Judicial Review sentences him, that blade will be sealed into the armory. As long as it is in there, Shifu will have a way to get it. He has been tortured for such a long time, Shen Zequan said softly. He won't be able to endure it for much longer. Did you find the person I asked you to find before the autumn hunt? Ji Gang remembered this matter and hastened to ask. I've found him. Shen Zequan smiled. I'm just waiting for him to come out. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Xiao Qiye did not return even during dinner time, so Shen Zequan rested in his own room. It was in the middle of the night when he heard hurried footsteps outside. Following right after it, someone knocked on his door. Shen Zequan wanted to pretend that he did not hear it when he heard a sound at the window. Xiao Qiye raised the window with his sheath and whistled at him. Men landed on the edge of the window and tilted its head to look inside, too. We agreed to sleep together, Xiao Qiye was not pleased. Why did you run back here again? Shen Zequan threw a pillow out of the window, and Xiao Qiye caught hold of it. So, Shen Zequan could only get up and hugged his blanket to open the door. Carrying his pillow in his arms, Xiao Qiye suddenly took a sniff and asked, Did you put on some fragrance? Shen Zequan replied, I apply 10 kati of rouge a day. Is that so? Xiao Qiye smiled and said. Shen Zequan walked in front. With Xiao Qiye standing behind him, even the night wind could not blow onto Shen Zequan. Sensing a coolness on his nape, Shen Zequan swiftly looked back. Xiao Qiye scraped him with a finger, then sniffed his own finger a little dubiously. What is the scent on your body? Xiao Qiye wondered, a whiff. Shen Zequan swung the blanket over Xiao Qiye's head and replied calmly, That's the smell of gunpowder on your own body. Xiao Qiye stood for a brief moment, then he lifted the edge of the blanket with lightning speed and enveloped Shen Zequan within it, too. With his head protruding from the eaves, Ding Tao speedily fished out a small book and exclaimed in excitement, Way to go, second young master. You caught him. End chapter. Note. Xiaochun blade is the name of the sword that the Jin Yue used during the Ming dynasty. Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 1, I was an outcast Liege. Chapter 37, Hand Cannon. The world darkened before Shen Zequan, he was now much closer to Xiao Qiye. He heard Xiao Qiye say, So it's really the smell on me. This is way too pungent. Shen Zequan switched the topic and asked, Did you just add the hand cannon to the Imperial Army's arsenal? Bronze blunderbuss. Xiao Qiye moved his finger close to the tip of Shen Zequan's nose to let him take a sniff. It was mixed together with the scent on you, so I couldn't tell it apart for a moment. There's no scent on me. The tip of Shen Zequan's nose twitched slightly. He said, Did you raid the 8th Great Training Division's military armory? The blunderbuss was restricted by the Imperial Court. After it was improved from the original bamboo tube design into the bronze version, it became the equipment of the 8th Great Training Division's Chunquan Battalion. This weapon was lethal, but it was not easy to control. The projectiles had limited range, and it took time to load. However, the 8th Great Training Division's job was to guard the Chu capital, and it was mostly street fights when they came to blows with others. Not only was it hard to bring out the firearm's full potential to do what it was meant to do, but it also became a burden. That was why the 8 Great Training Divisions did not popularize the use of it and chose to set it aside instead. It was only during the yearly drills at the military drill grounds that they would take it out to use. It might not suit the 8 Great Training Divisions, but it was very suitable for Liege's armored cavalry. The armored cavalry of Liege were heavy cavalry, with a very small number of infantry and light cavalry. They favored straight-on assault that hit like a surge of monstrous wave. In the early years, Great Zhou set up a cavalry garrison at Loxia Pass. In order to deal with the fast speed of the Bianchi cavalry, they spared no expense to purchase horses and attempted to build the great Zhou's very own cavalry's horse ranch. However, all the horses that the Bianchi tribe sent were often inferior steeds compared to their own. With their own horses were true brave horses who had fought against packs of wild wolves at the foot of the Hongjian mountains, and paired up with machetes and sturdy warriors, they were invincible everywhere they went. It was because of this that Xiao Fangxiu established the Liege armored cavalry with heavily armored men and horses. They formed a living metal wall in the northwest so that there was no way for the Bianchi cavalry's storm-like assaults could pass through the steel wall. The northwest was a vast, boundless expanse of grassland. If the Liege armored cavalry could be equipped with blunderbusses, then the long-ranged attacks of the Bianchi cavalry would turn into Liege's armored cavalry's advantage. Long-ranged attacks could leave enough time for the blunderbusses to be charged. By the time the cavalry arrived before them, they would be within the shooting range of the blunderbusses. To Liege, this simply served to boost their power and strength, much like a tiger that had been given wings. Even with Shiguan removed, the 8 great training divisions are still the 8 great training divisions. Xiao Qiye took a step closer and pushed Shen Zequan forward with his chest. There's no rating to talk of for a military armory. It's just a change of master. Don't worry about it. I'm only just taking it to play with. Shen Zequan walked a few steps as if he really did not care and said, "Can you just lift the blanket away and walk? The days are short and the nights are long. Why not hold a candle for a leisure walk?" Xiao Qiye smiled. "Want to play with me, too?" Since it was not obtained in an open and above-board manner, then it'd be safer to hide it. Shen Zequan lifted the blanket and made his way out. "Making your way through Chu capital while reeking of gunpowder all over. You're lucky it's the middle of the night. It doesn't matter even if it's during the day." Xiao Qiye clamped the pillow under his arm and raised one arm high to prop up the blanket as he walked. He swept his eyes across the veranda's eaves. Who doesn't know that the Xiao Cian loves to play? Even if I hold a blunderbuss, it was just out to shoot birds. He emphasized the word birds, causing Ding Tao and Gu Jin, who were sprawled above them, to shudder in unison. After entering the room, Xiao Qiye threw the blanket and pillow onto his bed, kicked off his boots in 2 or 3 tries, and stepped across the woolen rug with the intent to take a bath. He had already taken off half of his clothes when he extended his upper body out from behind the curtain. "Have you taken your bath?" Shen Zequan rinsed his mouth and said, "Yeah." So, Xiao Qiye took a bath himself, moving fast. When he stepped out while wiping the water on his nape, he saw that Shen Zequan had already lain down with his back towards him. Xiao Qiye looked at that Shen Zequan's nape had been covered up tightly. He then wiped his hair hastily and blew out the lamp. Shen Zequan listened as Xiao Qiye sat on the couch and opened a box to look for something. "Lanzo." Xiao Qiye closed the box and asked, "Are you asleep?" Shen Zequan answered in a deadpan manner, "I am." The Court of Judicial Review summoned many physicians today. Yet they did not dare to alert the Imperial Academy of Medicine. Xiao Qiye said, "What did you do to Jilei?" Shen Zequan asked, "Do you want to listen to ghost stories late at night? They are going to interrogate the Imperial prison guards tomorrow morning." Xiao Qiye said. They would just go through the motions. Shen Zequan did not know whether Hai Lianji could tolerate such a thing, but he knew Xue Zaiozhuo could. Xue Zaiozhuo had already gotten the confession he wanted, so Jilei was now useless. This mess was created by Shen Zequan, but never once had he thought to clean up the mess, because it's up to Xue Zaiozhuo and Shi Hongxian to clean it up. When Shen Zequan thought to this point, he said, "I've been towing the line. Even if they investigate." Xiao Qiye lay down, then suddenly sat up and said, "Wipe my hair." Shen Zequan closed his eyes and pretended to sleep. Xiao Qiye said, "Stop pretending to sleep and hurry up." Xiao Qiye said, "Lanzo." Xiao Qiye said, "Shen Lanzo." The bed suddenly sank. Shen Zequan opened his eyes in shock. His blanket had already been lifted away. Xiao Qiye squeezed in behind him and nuzzled his dripping wet head on Shen Zequin's back, instantly soaking it. Pulling his blanket, Shen Zequin said, "Second young master Xiao, are you a 3-year-old child?" "More or less," Xiao Qiye replied lazily, "aren't you already asleep?" "Please continue." The more Shen Zequin feigned sleep, the wetter his back became. That cold mop of hair stuck to him, and following in its wake was Xiao Qiye, who smelled the same as the scent on the handkerchief last night. Shen Zequin opened his eyes and said, "My clothes are now wet." No one replied. Shen Zequin said, "Stop pretending to be asleep." Shen Zequin said, "Second young master Xiao." Shen Zequin propped himself up with his arms and said in the darkness, "Xiao Xian, you're a jerk." The jerk handed him a dry handkerchief out of consideration, then turned his back to him and waited. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. On the rooftop, Ding Tao pulled back his hands and said, "It's so cold even on snowy days. I'm afraid we won't be having an easy time this winter." Gu Jin handed him the wine bag and rubbed his hands and said, "We have kept watch for 2 nights. There should be a shift or change tomorrow morning." Ding Tao took a sip of the wine, which warmed him up a little. Folding his arms up into his sleeves, he lay down too and said as he looked at the night sky, "Nothing's happening tonight either. The task is arduous and the road is long." Gu Jin covered the wine bag. His ears suddenly twitched, and he turned over to lie on his stomach. His eyes moved back and forth in the boundless darkness like a falcon. A subtle sound of snow being trodden on rang out in the wind. Gu Jin acted decisively and flipped over his hand to toss out a flying blade. He whispered, "The northwest corner." Ding Tao suddenly leaped up, flew across the rooftop and hacked at the darkness with a lightning move of his hand. The jet-black robe in the night dodged his blow smoothly. Like a ghost, the man concealed himself into the shadows and attempted to flee. A lithe Ding Tao fell over to hang upside down from the eaves. He did not expect steel needles to come for him right in the face. Using the shaft of the brush in his hand, he struck away the needles with a thwack. When he took a look again, the person had already made his escape. Ding Tao landed soundlessly on the ground. His Qinggong was so outstanding that he did not leave any footprints when he landed on this thin snow. Gu Jin surveyed the area from the rooftop and said, "Excellent martial arts. To think he could escape my eyes. Tao Sui, could you tell who it was?" Ding Tao picked the steel needles from the veranda and pinched them between his fingertips to scrutinize the. In just a short instant, he had already learned a lot. He said, "It's thin as hair and dipped in snake venom. It's not something local to the Chu capital but a foreign trick imported by the Yongquan harbor in the 13 cities of Zhuexi. His Qinggong is good and his ability to mask his breathing is exceptional. Although he did not carry a broadsword with him, he's likely from the Jinyi way." He carefully put the steel needles into his own bamboo tube and somersaulted back onto the rooftop. The Jinyi way have removed a bunch of officials from office. Skilled men of 4th rank and below are few and far between. Gu Jin said, "Who would come to our prince's manor at this moment to scout around?" "It's hard to say." Ding Tao touched his chest with trepidation. "He almost stabbed my book." Gu Jin drank his wine, lost in thoughts. Ding Tao sat cross-legged and began to say in a hushed tone, "This book has been with me for many years. What's more, it was a reward from the Xiao Shi Sui's princess consort. Even when I went to fight those Biancha Baldies, it had never been stabbed before. What a close call. It's really too close of a call. There are still many things written in it. Do you know? My father's own book was stolen when someone slit his throat. Oh heavens! Recorded in it are all major stuff. Back then, I chased after the book until I almost died. Jingur, I'm telling you. A man should always keep a journal because they will become forgetful when they grow old, like you. You drink so much wine all day that before the age of 40, you will probably forget how much money you have been squirreling away. How about you tell me and I'll write it down and remember it for you. Gu Jin stuffed cotton into his ears and began to meditate. The next day, Shen Zequan was the first to wake up. He did not sleep well. With Xiao Qiye crowding behind him, both of them had been up to their neck pulling the blanket back and forth in the night. Besides, Shen Zequan could not sleep with such a hulk of a person beside him. Xiao Qiye was lying still, looking pretty sound asleep while hugging the pillow. Shen Zequan waited for him to wake, but he ended up waiting for something else instead. That erected part pressed against his buttocks was brimming with vigor, hot and vigorous. The temperature on the bed rose. He did not know if Xiao Qiye was awoken by the heat or by the hardness. In any case, he cussed in a hoarse voice and sat up in one smooth movement. Xiao Qiye tossed the pillow aside. He cast Shen Zequan a look and saw that Shen Zequan was also looking at him. He grabbed at his own hair and reached out a hand to cover Shen Zequan with the blanket, a gesture forbidding the other man to look at him. Then he got out of bed and headed straight into the bath pool without even wearing his shoes. Chen Yang was waiting outside listening to signs of activities when he saw Shen Zequan stepped out. He did not know what to say as both men faced each other. But Shen Zequan simply pointed naturally in the direction of the bath hall and walked away. By the time Xiao Qiye emerged, he was already clear-headed. He ate a little of his breakfast and listened as Chen Yang told him about the intruder last night. Jin Yue. Xiao Qiye thought for a moment and said, "He didn't come for me. He should be sent by someone to keep an eye on Shen Lanzhou. Then, he's one of the Empress Dowager's people." Chen Yang said, "But manpower is scarce now. How would there still be such skilled men in the Jin Yue? The pool of the Jin Yue is quite deep." Xiao Qiye stood up. "I'll head out for morning court. We'll talk again when I return." At the end of the court session, Liege Unhung, holding the hand warmer, sat in Mingli Hall and watched as the various officials split up into both sides. He asked apprehensively, "So has the verdict been passed?" Shueziaozuo kneeled and said, "Replying to your majesty, Ji Lei had made a full confession regarding his intent to rebel at the Nanlin hunting grounds. The evidence against him is now conclusive. The Court of Judicial Review worked through the night last night to straighten out the confession, and it has been submitted to your majesty by Secretariat Elder Hai. In the half-month before and after the Hua faction case, the 3 judicial offices have repeatedly conducted joint trials. The 2 vice-commanders and 4 assistant commanders of the Jin Yue headed by Ji Lei are all sentenced to immediate execution by decapitation, while the judge of the imperial prison and the accompanying battalion commanders at the Nanlin hunting grounds are all sentenced to prison to await execution. As long as the sentence has been passed, it's all good." Liege Unhung said. "You have worked hard, Secretariat Elder. It's inadvisable to stand for long. Men, bring him a seat." After Hai Lianji sat down, Liege Unhung continued, "It's truly abhorrent of the Hua clan to collude with the eunuchs and Jin Yue to plot a rebellion. Pan Rugui, as the brush-holding director of the Directorate of Ceremonies, is greedy for power and wealth. He's wicked beyond redemption. This person must not be held in custody to await execution, he should be beheaded right away. The word Secretariat Elder has previously said to me gave me sleepless nights. After thinking about it for a long time, I've decided to work hard for the prosperity of the state from now on." Hai Lianji immediately rose to bow again. Liege Unhung quickly raised his hands and said, "Sit, Secretariat Elder, do sit. There are now many matters that Zhen will need the Secretariat Elder's advice on. In the future, Zhen hope that everyone will work as one to assist Zhen. If you have something to say, you can boldly speak your mind here." Shueziaozuo looked up in surprise, but his expression remained neutral. He kneeled in unison with the various officials on his left and right and commended the decision. Liege Unhung excitedly motioned for everyone to get up. After saying a little more, he dismissed them and invited only Secretariat Elder Hai to stay and to have a meal with him. Xiao Qiye happened to be with Shueziaozuo when he came out. Shueziaozuo said, "I wonder what the viceroy said to His Majesty. To think His Majesty would be willing to show such respect to the wise. His Majesty is young and strong. This is just the time for him to show his might. Even if I didn't say anything, he would still do this on his own accord." Xiao Qiye said, "The Court of Judicial Review has been busy these days. It has been hard on Your Excellency Yanqing. One would naturally concern himself with all matters pertaining to his post. It's my duty." As Shueziaozuo spoke, he looked at Xiao Qiye and said with a smile, "I heard that the viceroy has been diligently heading to Mount Feng these 2 days. Is there anything fun there?" Xiao Qiye smiled, too, as he replied, "The first snow on Mount Feng is unparalleled in the world, and several deers have been sighted recently. I'm thinking of hunting a few rounds for fun. If you are free, would you like to go and have a look together?" Shueziaozuo gave a light wave of his hand and said, "I am just a weak scholar. What would I know about hunting? I wouldn't want to dampen the viceroy's spirits." Both men parted ways at the entrance of the palace. As Xiao Qiye watched him recede into the distance, his earlier smile waned. Chen Yang was waiting by the horse carriage. He waited until Xiao Qiye arrived before he lifted the curtain for him and said at the same time, "Viceroy, the venerable Shifu has already left for the Chu capital." Xiao Qiye nodded. Chen Yang hesitated for a moment, then he continued, "Our tale in the Court of Judicial Review has brought back word that Ji Lei's dead." Xiao Qiye asked, "How did he die?" Chen Yang raised his hands to gesture as he kept his voice down to say, "He was skinned until he looked neither human nor ghost. He was on the verge of dying last night, but Shueziaozuo kept him hanging onto his last breath until the confession was presented to His Majesty. Only then did he let him breathe his last." Xiao Qiye sat down in silence. Chen Yang said, "Ji Lei interrogated Shenzhequan in the imperial prison 5 years ago and got Feng Quan to humiliate him in public with that donkey roast. Now, Shenzhequan has returned an eye for an eye and also turned Ji Lei into. This person's vindictive nature is evident. Viceroy, there's animosity between him and us, too. It's too dangerous to let him stay with us now." Xiao Qiye twirled the thumb ring on his thumb and did not reply. End chapter. Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 1, I Was an Outcast Liege. Chapter 38, Military Discipline. The snow fell for 3 to 4 days. Xiao Qiye became lazy to the point he hardly went to the military drill grounds. He had recently made the acquaintance of several Lanzhou merchants and purchased some valuables such as pearls imported from Yongquan harbor and jasper produced from He province, all of which were exquisite items. Liege was very diligent now. No matter how cold the weather was, he would attend court sessions as usual and ask Hai Lianji to give lectures every day. When he saw Xiao Qiye neglecting his tasks, he would also exhort him a word or two. He seemed as if he genuinely had a change of heart. Xiao Qiye was glad to see the change in him. He hunted 2 deers from Mount Feng and presented them to the palace. Frightened by the donkey roast the last time, Liege kept wild creatures at arm's length and bestowed the deers to Hai Lianji instead. It was soon to be the end of the year, when the sacrificial ceremony and the banquet of 100 officials were the major events. The 6 ministries and 24 yamen of the imperial palace were all up to their neck in work. The Directorate of Ceremonies lacked manpower, and there were many matters that they could not get a grasp on, so they still had to ask Liege about it. Liege was baffled when it came to these matters, too. So he had to consult Hai Lianji and the Ministry of Rites to be able to decide every time. It began to grow busy in the Chu capital. When Liege saw that Xiao Qiye had nothing to do, he gave him an important job and handed him the task of reviewing the 8th Great Training Division's roster. This way, Chu capital's patrols and defenses fell completely into Xiao Qiye's hands. Xiao Qiye could not turn it down, so he had no choice but to start busying around. Shenzequan followed Xiao Qiye as he bustled about. As a consequence, he inevitably came across the imperial army. Tantai, who had yet to remove his blades after his patrol duty ended this one day. When he returned to the office, he saw Shenzequan standing outside. He rubbed his frozen, scarred face and strode over. Shenzequan turned his head and watched as Tantai, who moved menacingly towards him. Eighth son of the Shen family, right? Tantai, who stopped in his tracks and said coldly to Shenzequan. Shenwei is your old man, right? Shenzequan asked, are you looking for my old man or for me? Of course, I'm looking for you. Shenwei has already been fucking burned to ashes. Tantai, who paced around Shenzequan and continued, while your days in the Chu capital are still comfortable. Look at this figure. It's comparable to the courtesans in Donglong Street. The pampered kind with an appetite for food and wine. Hearing his tone, Shenzequan knew that he did not come with good intentions. Chen Yang said nothing beside him, while the imperial army in the courtyard all craned their necks to watch the show. Tantai, who continued, perky ass and a slender willow waist. Rosy peach blossom cheeks and foxy eyes. In Zhongyun Villa, you'd be a first-class top courtesan material. Why are you running around in the wind and snow with our viceroy instead of living the good life? Tantai, who stood still in place and stared daggers at Shenzequan. He continued, it was only because Shenwei licked the hooves of the Libe armored cavalry horses 5 years ago that the 6 prefectures of Zongbo did not turn into manure pits for the Biancha 12 tribes' horses. And now you are also learning from your old man. Which part of our viceroy are you going to lick? The brothel prostitutes are all great talents skilled in a certain technique once they let down the bed curtains. What skill do you have that makes you worthy of standing together today with all the men who have fought battles? Shenzequan said with a smile, if I'm not worthy, then is the vice commander going to revoke my authority token and drive me out of the courtyard? Why would I want to waste that much effort? Tantai, who said, you are the dog at our imperial army's doors. Even a kick is an honor to you. It's also on account of the viceroy that I'm here saying a few words to you. Since you have become another man's thing, then you must have the cognizance of being an object. I hung up the Jinyi Wei authority token on the Son of Heaven's orders. And that means I'm here on official business. How is that being someone else's thing? Shenzequan asked. If I'm the Imperial Army's dog, then all of you sirs aren't that different either. We are all men receiving a salary from the Imperial Court walking around the Chu capital. If there is any awareness to be had, then everyone must work with one mind and heart to be enlightened. Tantai, whose tiger-like eyes widened in a stare as he held up his twin blades and fumed, you, the same as us? Disrespectful Shen dog. Back then, I was the senior battalion commander of the Deng province garrison troops of Zongdu. He strode a sudden step forward and seethed with hatred. At that time, when Hashi River was defeated, my brothers were in the Hashi sinkhole. Do you know what a sight that was? Men shot alive with arrows until they turned into hedgehogs. 40,000 men buried together in the sinkhole. 40,000 men. Shenzequan's expression remained unchanged. Tantai, who continued, my old man and mother were in Deng province, too. The Biancha cavalry came attacking and that traitor Shen fled, abandoning all the old, weak, women, and children in Deng province like my parents to the mercy of the Biancha cavalry. They massacred the cities one after another. My younger sister was dragged by the Biancha cavalry for 2 li before she was raped and slaughtered at the city gates. But you are living such a carefree life with no need to worry about the necessities. Just stick out your ass for others to fuck, and any sin you are guilty of can be pardoned. The cold wind blew in the courtyard. Chen Yang saw that the situation was getting out of hand and wanted to stop him, but it was already too late. Tantai, who lifted Shenzequan by the collar and said, infuriated, how dare you talk back when I'm lecturing you today? You are all young masters used to a life of luxury. How would you know exactly how many people died in that battle? How would you know there are still countless people who have starved to death in Zongbo even in this day and age? How's life in the Chu capital, huh? You sleep well, live well, and there are always people absolving you of sin one after another. Then what about those people in Zongbo who have died? Who is going to be held accountable for their deaths? Shen Zequan grabbed hold of Tan Taihu's arm and suddenly flung him over to the ground. It was such a shocking move that everyone around them retreated in unison. Shen Zequan rubbed 2 handfuls of snow and looked at Tan Taihu. He said, "Who? Ask your own people. It took an entire month for the Bianchi cavalry to enter our territory and moved along the banks of Hashi River to Deng province. When Shen Wei cowered back from battle, you iron-willed, valiant men should have broken his neck and dispatched troops to fortify defenses." Shen Zequan stood up. "Even if you humiliate me and hate me, it's no skin off my nose. This world calls for repaying a debt of blood with blood. Killing me is thus considered enforcing justice on behalf of heaven and appeasing public wrath." He spat at Tan Taihu and smiled maliciously. "What a fucking load of crap. The one who massacred the cities is the Bianchi cavalry. They are also the one who killed those 40,000 soldiers. You want to screw this Shen Zequan, then get your ass straight first and wash the Bianchi cavalry's piss off your head. My life is lowly and my death is not to be regretted. But will my death write off the Bianchi cavalry's debts?" Tan Taihu said, "Don't you fucking try to absolve yourself from guilt. Wasn't your old man the one who let the Bianchi cavalry into the territories? Then kill me." Shen Zequan raised a finger to make a slashing motion across his neck. "Please, hurry and kill me. Kill me and the Shen trader's bloodline will be severed." Tan Taihu suddenly stood up, pulled out his twin blades, and pounced on Shen Zequan. Having just woken up, Ding Tao had only just stride through the door when he saw what was happening. Alarmed, he shouted, "Lao Hu, don't hurt him. I have to keep watch on him." Tan Taihu was already beyond listening. He slashed out with his twin blades and sent the wind whistling. Ding Tao leaped 3 jong high, intending to charge in, but Gu Jin lifted him by his back collar to stop him from moving forward. "Lao Hu's entire family died in Zongbo," Gu Jin said. "You can't expect him to let Shen Zequan off." Ding Tao said, "But wasn't the culprit Shen Wei? What does it have to do with Shen Zequan?" Gu Jin hesitated for a moment but did not continue the conversation. Tan Taihu's blade sliced the air before Shen Zequan's face, and Shen Zequan spun around to kick his blade-holding wrist askew. As soon as Tan Taihu's arm went numb, he hurled his blade out. Right at that time, the curtain to the office was lifted. Yang Zongji, the vice minister of the Ministry of War, stared at the blade with widened eyes as it came hurtling towards him. Chen Yang instantly raised his arm in an attempt to grab the hilt. But who would expect Xiao Qiye to be faster? With a swing of his sheath, he struck the blade down into the snow. The steel blade stabbed into the ground with force so violent it shocked the entire courtyard of Imperial Army into kneeling. They said in unison, "Viceroy, please pardon our offense." Ignoring them, Xiao Qiye hung his blade back and raised his hand to lift the curtain for Yang Zongji. With an apologetic smile, he said, "I failed to discipline my subordinates and have thus caused alarm to Vice Minister Yang." How would Yang Zongji dare to linger? After concurring awkwardly for a couple of times, he hurried out of the courtyard, got into his horse carriage, and slipped away without even wanting anyone to see him off. Once Xiao Qiye was done seeing him off, he turned back to look at the entire courtyard of kneeling men. Knowing that he was in the wrong, Chen Yang hastened to say, "Viceroy, it's this subordinate who has been negligent in my supervision and didn't. You've watched the show long enough." As Xiao Qiye spoke, Meng landed on his shoulder. He took out some white meat and fed it to the gerfalcon, saying only, "Zhao Hui wouldn't do such a thing." Chen Yang's face turned white. Xiao Qiye did not reprove Chen Yang as he stood before the others because Chen Yang was the chief of his guards and his most trusted aide. He could not give Chen Yang a slap in the face right under the watchful eyes of his men, since that would make him lose his standing among his imperial army brothers and make him unable to hold his head up before them. But these words of his cut Chen Yang's heart the deepest. Chen Yang and Zhao Hui were both men with good potential that Xiao Fangxiu selected himself. Zhao Hui was calm and steady, and his meritorious military deeds were innumerable as he followed under Xiao Jiming's command. He was a deputy general whom few would dare to show displeasure to when he came to Chu capital. Meanwhile, Chen Yang had remained behind in the Liege Prince manor until he finally followed Xiao Qiye 5 years ago. He was prudent, and he was most fearful of others saying that he was inferior to Zhao Hui. This was a contest between them, brothers of the same clan. And Xiao Qiye's words today not only gave him a wake-up call, but also made him extremely ashamed. When I took over as the viceroy 5 years ago, it was said that the imperial army was all a bunch of rotten ruffians who gave scant regard to military discipline and rules and who held the viceroy in contempt. Xiao Qiye stroked Meng and continued, I can't lead these kinds of soldiers. If you want to remain in the imperial army, either you buck up and abide by the rules, or you pack up and scram right now. Tantai, whose chest heaved as he said indignantly, it's as what the viceroy said. We have all listened to you in the past. But what is he? Can he even be called a soldier? I'm appointed the vice commander, and I'm several grades higher than him. Was it wrong of me to lecture him? I may feed myself with this job, but no way am I going to bend myself over for someone who sells his ass. The authority token he's hanging on his waist is of the Jinyue. And now he is on the job as a guard. If you can sit in my position before giving him the attitude, then you'd have proven yourself capable. Xiao Qiye lowered his eyes to look at him. Do you believe you aren't in the wrong? Tantai, who straightened up his neck and said, that's right. Then why stay on and suffer indignities? Xiao Qiye said, leave. Tantai, who suddenly raised his head in disbelief. For this man, the viceroy wants to remove me from office. There shall be no personal grudges in the imperial army. So don't fucking try to play matchmaker. I'm not doing this for anyone. Xiao Qiye lowered his voice. I have the final say in the imperial army. Since you can make your own decisions, then why call me viceroy? Strip off this armor and remove these twin steel blades, then you are free to demand repayment for any blood debt you are owed. If you can take him down within 3 moves, this Xiao Xian will immediately kowtow to you and acknowledge my mistake. But when you don this armor and hang up the imperial army's token on your waist, then you can only obey me. Every one of you here had watched a great show today. You trample all over my dignity to your great delight. You have backbone. You're gutsy enough. So, what's there for us to talk about military discipline? Wouldn't it be much more gratifying for all of you to scram and become the kings of the mountains instead? Everyone lowered their heads and dared not say a word. Meng finished eating his meat and raised his head high to stare at them. Xiao Qiye said, don't you usually like to say that I'm a muddle-headed lecher? Then I'll do precisely that today. I'll revoke Tantai, whose authority token, and send him out of the door. The imperial army said in unison, Viceroy, please be appeased. Tantai, who would not admit his mistake. He pulled the authority token off with a trembling hand and said, as brothers with the viceroy, I've received the viceroy's kindness these 5 years and I'm even willing to lay down my life for the viceroy. But what wrong am I guilty of today? The viceroy wants to break my heart and dismiss me from my post because of a pretty man. Fine. This Tantai who, concede defeat. With that, he placed his authority token and helmet together on the ground and kowtowed thrice, thud, 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 to Xiao Qiye. Then he rose to his feet and stripped off his armor. Wearing only his inner garment, he looked at Shen Zequin. I'll see how long you can survive by seducing those you serve. I will naturally seek vengeance on the Biancha Baldies in the days to come. But you won't be able to run either. Tantai, who wiped his eyes and cupped his fists to everyone around him. My brothers, we shall meet again. Then he strode a step forward and left for real. End chapter. Notes. 1. Lanzhou merchants, from the Lanzhou group, were famous merchants during the Ming and Qing dynasties for its operations in jewelry, book publishing, and paper-making industries. 2. Laohu or Old Hu, after the Hu in Tantai Hu name, but Laohu is also a word for tiger. The Hu in Tantai Hu means tiger.